Good morning, I'm Kenneth Moton.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday morning. Number 1, the desperate search off the coast of Georgia.
Emergency crews are looking for 4 members of a massive cargo ship that overturned and burst into flames. The flames and the instability of the South Korea-owned ship have slowed rescue efforts. 20 crew members have been evacuated safely. Number 2, President Trump is under fire for planning a secret meeting with the Taliban at Camp David before abruptly calling it off.
Democrats and some Republicans have criticized the White House for even considering holding the peace talks at the presidential retreat as the 9/11 anniversary approaches. The president was hoping for an agreement to end the war in Afghanistan, but pulled the plug, citing last week's suicide attack that killed a U.S. soldier. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Taliban leaders were not negotiating in good faith.
The Taliban overreached. They killed an American in an effort to gain leverage at the negotiating table. And President Trump said enough.
The president had talked about bringing as many as 5,000 troops home in the coming months, but it's now unclear whether that will happen. On to number 3 now. A health alert about a rare virus which is spread by mosquitoes.
A 50-year-old Michigan woman died from the virus called Eastern equine encephalitis, or EEE. In August, 1 person died from the virus in Massachusetts. And a 5-year-old girl is among the 7 people in the state with EEE. The virus has been found in mosquitoes across the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic states. Number 4, the race for 2020.
The latest ABC News Washington Post poll shows former Vice President Joe Biden favored by 27% of likely Democratic voters. Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are running neck and neck at 19% and 17%. The remaining candidates are in the single digits. And finally, number 5, some fashion statements around the NFL.
Panthers QB Cam Newton turned everybody's head after his team's loss to the LA Rams. One person on Twitter said he looked like, quote, a woman who has lost several husbands under mysterious circumstances.
And Odell Beckham Jr. of the Browns was rocking a $350,000 watch while on the field. It's a limited edition Richard Mille watch. Only 500 were made. That's an expensive piece of jewelry on the football field.
That is fancy. I wonder can you get the ABC News app on that? All right, let's get right to that big story. 4 crew members still missing more than 24 hours after their cargo ship capsized off the coast of Georgia.
The nearly 700-foot ship called the Golden Ray was about to depart for Baltimore when it made a turn and eventually flipped on its side. The fire is out and the black smoke is no longer visible, but the ship needs to be stabilized before rescue crews can search inside.
ABC's Inez de la Cuatara joins us with the latest. Inez.
Good morning, Janae and Kenneth. Well, the ship remains partially submerged off the coast of Georgia, with rescue workers now working to try and find a way to get to those 4 missing crew members who could be trapped inside.
4 crew members still missing at sea in the St. Simons Sound after their massive cargo ship nearly capsized.
I just want to confirm that this is the vessel Golden Ray, the cargo ship that capsized. There's no way to get on board the vessel.
Officials say just after it departed port around 2 a.m. on Sunday, the Golden Ray made a turn and toppled over, then burst into flames.
As smoke and flames began to appear, our crews, along with the Glenn County Heavy Rescue Team, assessed that the situation was too risky to further go inside the vessel.
The Coast Guard deploying helicopters and boats to try and rescue the 24 people on board. Dramatic video shows them lifting a crew member to safety in the dead of night.
All vessels are requested to keep a sharp lookout. It's just impossible.
20 people were safely evacuated before rescuers decided the fire made it too risky to keep going. Authorities are now intensely working on stabilizing the leaning vessel so they can continue rescue operations.
We brought in a team of experts to start looking at how we can affect the rescue, but also do it safely while keeping a mindful eye to the safety of the rescuers and responders to make sure that we don't make the problem worse.
Officials say the 4 missing crew members were on watch in the engine room when the incident happened.
We're doing everything we can to try and get those last 4 members off.
And a local paper is now reporting that the Coast Guard has detected tapping noises coming from inside the vessel, which could be coming from those 4 missing crew members. Janae and Kenneth.
All right, and as we'll be watching that one closely, thank you so much.
Well, President Trump is facing bipartisan backlash over his now canceled plans to hold a secret meeting with the Taliban at Camp David. The president was hoping to get the Taliban to sign off on a deal to end the war in Afghanistan, but he broke it off, citing the latest suicide attack in Kabul. As ABC's Brad Milkey tells us, the president is now under fire over the time and place of the talks just days before 9/11.
Hey guys, yeah, ever since the war in Afghanistan began, every president has tried and failed to find his way out of it. Well, apparently, President Trump had a plan no one had ever tried before, and that plan fell apart this weekend. This weekend, President Trump tweeted that unbeknownst to almost everyone, the major Taliban leaders and separately the president of Afghanistan were going to secretly meet with me at Camp David on Sunday. Well, then the president abruptly canceled that meeting. Now, ABC's chief global affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz told me that prompted a lot of questions over whether this plan was such a good idea to begin with.
It is still unclear exactly how it fell apart. You've heard Secretary of State Pompeo explain it to say that it fell apart because the Taliban set off a suicide bomb in Kabul, killing at least 12 people, including one American service member. It might be that there was pressure from people on the Hill, from some Republicans on the Hill, about bringing the Taliban, a terrorist organization who harbored al-Qaeda, and whether that was such a good idea and optics just before the 18th anniversary of September 11th.
One thing is clear, that after nearly 18 years, it is the longest war in American history. We'll have a lot more on Start Here later this morning. Listen on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. Janae, Kenneth?
Our thanks to Brad. President Trump is facing another Republican challenger. Former South Carolina Governor and Congressman Mark Sanford has entered the race.
Sanford acknowledged his bid is a long shot, but he said his party has lost its way and needs to have a conversation about what it means to be a Republican. Sanford lost his re-election bid for Congress after criticizing Trump. He's the third Republican to challenge the president in the 2020 GOP primary.
A new ABC News poll out this morning shows 6 in 10 Americans are a great deal or somewhat worried about a mass shooting in their own community.
89% of those polled say they support background checks for all gun purchases, including private and gun show sales, and 86% back red flag laws allowing the police to take guns from individuals found by a judge to be a danger.
76% had confidence that improved mental health screening and treatment would reduce mass shootings, and 58% said they had confidence that stricter gun laws would reduce mass shootings.
Now to the race for 2020 as the Democrats descend on New Hampshire ahead of debate number 3 this week. ABC's Rachel Scott has the latest on the campaign trail.
In the race for president, momentum growing for a surging Senator Elizabeth Warren, charging into this week's crucial debate where she'll face off against 2 of her biggest rivals on the same stage for the first time. Here in New Hampshire, bringing thousands to their feet with a 2-minute standing ovation. I asked what was behind her recent rise.
I think it's because I get out and talk about what's broken and have real plans to fix it.
According to that new ABC News Washington Post poll, she's up 6 points since July. Warren is closing in on former Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Bernie Sanders. But the big question, who can defeat President Trump? Biden with an even bigger advantage over Warren and Sanders, with 42% of likely Democratic voters believing he can win.
Hello, New Hampshire.
The former vice president making a general election pitch here in Manchester and fumbling an attack on the president.
But if Donald Trump is reelected, Freudian slip.
You'll be in between Sanders and Warren on that debate stage. How do you make sure that your message breaks through?
That's not hard breaking through.
The New Hampshire primary, the nation's first, still 5 months away. But nearly the entire remaining Democratic field campaigning here this weekend, including Sanders, who soundly defeated Hillary Clinton here in 2016. With the 3 frontrunners all in their 70s, younger Democrats told me they believe it's their turn.
What I hear out there is that people are ready for a new generation of leadership.
I'm just going to go out there and be myself. That's really the most important thing.
I'm feeling very good about where my campaign is.
But for half of likely Democratic voters, it doesn't matter who the standard bearer is. They'll support anyone they think can defeat President Trump.
Electability is my #1 concern.
I would vote for anybody who I think can beat Donald Trump.
And I asked Senator Warren if her rise in the polls will make her a target on that debate stage. She told me she wasn't sure. But regardless, she doesn't really plan on changing her debate approach. She sees this as an opportunity to tell voters directly about her vision for the country, and she plans to stick to that message. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Manchester.
Our thanks to Rachel there. And ABC News will be hosting this Thursday's Democratic debate in Houston. George Stephanopoulos, David Muir, Lindsay Davis, and Univision's Jorge Ramos will be moderating beginning at 8 p.m. on ABC. The remnants of Hurricane Dorian are battering Canada's Newfoundland on its way out to sea.
The post-tropical storm left behind damage and destruction. This crane collapsed onto a building under construction in downtown Halifax, Nova Scotia. Schools in Nova Scotia are closed today to allow for storm cleanup. And off the coast of Newfoundland, weather buoy recorded a 100-foot high wave from Dorian.
And they're also cleaning up today on North Carolina's Ocracoke Island, which can only be reached by boat or air, even in good weather. The Outer Banks Island was completely swamped by Dorian, with roads washed out like this one. Fishing boats are bringing supplies to the island. It's believed as many as 800 people stayed on Ocracoke during the storm. The mandatory evacuation order is still in effect. Permanent residents who did evacuate will be allowed to return this morning, but there is no power on the island. And a Pennsylvania couple is in big trouble for going on a big shopping spree.
So the problem is they used more than $100,000 that accidentally ended up in their bank account. They bought an SUV, a camper, a whole lot of stuff. They also gave about $15,000 to friends, all within 3 weeks.
Just handed out money.
This is all according to the authorities. Yep. That's what they say. That's not us. The couple is free on bond on felony charges.
So authorities also say that the bank called. They were going to work on a repayment plan, but then the people stopped returning the phone calls. Look, the authorities say it's a crime. We want to know what you think. What would you have done if $120,000 ends up in your bank account? Are you giving it back? Are you not touching it?
Are you stealing it because it's not yours?
Yeah.
Let us know. That's our question of the day. Tweet us.
Comment. ABC News Live.
Let us know.
Coming up, a teen's GoPro video spots a car at the bottom of a murky lake, helping to solve a decades-old cold case.
But first, the record-breaking 700-pound alligator. We'll tell you where it was captured after this. Welcome back. We turn now to the growing crisis in the Bahamas following Hurricane Dorian. The death toll now stands at 45. Forensic investigators are searching debris for victims. Officials fear that some victims were washed out to sea and may never be found. ABC's Marcus Moore is in the Bahamas.
Frustration building a week after Dorian stormed into the Bahamas, obliterating entire communities, including much of Elbow Key, where it first made landfall.
The government ain't here doing it. We doing it. Just send us the we need, that's all. That's all we asking for. We ain't asking for nothing much.
Many upset, blaming red tape for holding back critical supplies to the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama, as American first responders continue to help evacuate the sick and wounded. We met Frank Knowles in front of what is left of his house.
We left in the eye, thankfully, and when we left in the eye, it was still very much intact.
His family now heading to the U.S. to stay with relatives. His wife will have to figure out where to send their kids to school.
We had each other accounted for. You know, there was no guesswork. I still don't know where my dad and my sister are. You know, I haven't heard from them yet.
And were they going to stay at their house, or were they going to?
They were staying there. They were there up until the eye when we lost contact with them.
His dad and sister among the potential thousands who were missing. And the destruction is all around here in Marsh Harbor. You can see it right here. Trees have been snapped, homes and businesses torn apart, and boats and cars tossed around, either by Dorian's extreme winds or that massive storm surge that left this island community in ruins. Thousands fleeing the affected islands where officials say food distribution is a challenge. All of this as the Bahamian government grapples with the mounting death toll.
Every single person we intend to account for.
Is there a chance that some of the victims we're talking about were swept away into the ocean and perhaps may never be found?
Yes.
Much of Marsh Harbor, where we rode out the storm this time a week ago, is a ghost town. So many people have left to go to other Bahama islands or even the U.S. But as aid continues to arrive, there are so many unaccounted for as the death toll continues to rise. Marcus Moore, ABC News, Marsh Harbor, Bahamas.
A big thanks to Marcus and his continued reporting there. All right, let's go across the pond now to ABC News' London Bureau, where Julia McFarlane is keeping an eye on the political chaos there around Brexit. Julia, good morning. New Prime Minister Boris Johnson wants a snap election next month, but lawmakers there rejected that proposal. What comes next?
Morning, Janae. Yes, this is the start of a very likely to be a very turbulent week for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. In just a few hours, the government is going to ask MPs to vote for a snap election, as you say, next month. Now, why does Boris want to do this? Stay with me. Remember that last week, the Parliament voted in favour of a bill that will compel Boris Johnson to ask the EU to postpone that scheduled Halloween Brexit date if he cannot get a deal. Now, Boris has said repeatedly he does not want to do this. He says that he would rather die in a ditch. So that's why he wants to go back to the people and hold another election. But what the talk about is today is how the government may try and get around that bill, which is going to be come into force, into law today. There are some suggestions that the Prime Minister may write two letters to the EU. One letter saying that he's asking for an extension because he has to, followed by another letter saying, well, we don't really want this, so please don't give it to us. Really extraordinary scenes. There are a lot of discussion whether that would be a contravention of the law. Really, really turbulent times here in the UK.
Makes you want to fly out of the UK, but apparently that could be tough if you're on British Airways, right? There's a strike going on.
Absolutely. Now, Kenneth, we are at the end, nearing the end of vacation season, but these cancellations are likely to cause huge amount of disruption. Pilots of British Airways, the UK's national flag carrier, are set to walk out for 2 days over a pay and conditions dispute. It's set to cost the airline around $50 million a day. Some 4,000 pilots are involved in the strike, and the airline is set to cancel around 1,700 flights.
Ooh, that's big numbers.
And yeah, so we know some of those travelers are getting refunds, but they could also look into taking a self-driving boat.
Yes, Janae, this is a great story. Now, work is beginning on constructing this unmanned boat, which is going to depart next year, next September, from Plymouth over to the US, and it is a celebration, a recreation of the Mayflower's voyage in the 1620s. Of course, carrying those pilgrims over to the US for the first time. Now, this is, as you say, an unmanned boat. I had to check when I first read the story. There's not going to be anyone on board, because my first thought was, well, if I was on a boat, I would definitely want a captain to make sure I was safe, right? Is there going to be a crew on board? There's not going to be anyone on board. It's going to sail across the Atlantic. It's also going to be doing some important work during its journey. It's going to be collecting data for climatology and marine life. So not just a nice sort of reenactment of that historic voyage, but doing some important science as well.
All right, well, there you go. Hey, thank you, Julie. We appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
Now let's check our notifications now.
Starting with the big old gator, putting a small Georgia county on the map.
Check out this 14-footer. It was recovered by trappers in Quitman County near the Alabama border. The 5-member crew fought more than 5 hours to bring the 700-pound reptile into their boat. It's the largest alligator captured in state history.
Massive. Next up, watch these acrobats doing some serious seesawing.
That's some work right there.
Right?
They make it look so easy.
Strong legs.
Strong cores. I gotta hit the gym today. Hey, football season is underway. Dads everywhere are hoping their sons will grow up to be star quarterbacks, I'm sure. This baby's got a good arm here, throwing a ball. Not a football, but yep. Right,
there you
right for Dad. Dad didn't catch.
Nope.
If
Dad's got to step up his game.
Yeah, maybe kids saying I want to be an only child. Who knows?
And look at these cute little friends cuddling during nap time.
Aww.
Or just that dog trying to get some milk.
Maybe. And a human playing tricks on this puppy was taught a lesson in kindness by a dog. Watch it.
Who said,
Owner's
all right,
like,
sir.
This is the, wait for it. That's enough. That's enough. Takes the chicken, puts it in the bowl. You eat up. I love it.
And a case of bullying has won a student some love from a major college football team.
Yeah, a young boy in Florida who is a fan of the University of Tennessee made his own UT t-shirt for his school's College Colors Day, pinning a hand-drawn Tennessee logo to an orange t-shirt. Classmates teased him, but a teacher posted the story online and it went viral. UT officials saw the post. They sent the boy UT swag and clothes and turned his logo into a t-shirt. There it is.
Very sweet.
That's a good lesson there for all involved.
Yeah.
Hey, now to a major development in a cold case that's baffled investigators for decades.
A woman seemingly vanished in Canada back in 1992. Now a teenager's curiosity and his GoPro camera help solve the mystery hidden at the bottom of a lake. A teenager's discovery at the bottom of a murky lake, giving clarity to a decades-old mystery. 13-year-old Max Warenko was on a boat in British Columbia when he spotted something underwater.
If there was something that could have helped anyone, it's why not try?
So Max grabbed his GoPro, and his video gave a closer look. A submerged car in 15 feet of water just off a highway.
Could be a bigger story to something you think is not there.
Max showed divers with local law enforcement where to find the vehicle, and they discovered a grim answer to a 27-year-old mystery.
Came back to a missing persons back in 1992. We were very surprised because it had been so long.
When we initially heard that there was somebody in that vehicle, my heart just sank.
Inside the car, a woman's body, identified as Janet Ferris, who went missing in 1992 while driving to a wedding.
I couldn't imagine what it'd be like for that many years not understanding whatever happened to a loved one.
It was meant to happen.
This morning, authorities are praising Max for his outstanding detective work and for cracking a cold case many thought would never be solved.
The RCMP will probably be looking at this guy down the road for potential employment.
Ferris's family says they're grateful for Max's discovery, and it brings answers to nearly 3 decades of mystery. Police don't think her death was suspicious.
And some closure there for that family. Well, coming up, we'll give you a heads up on what to expect on this Monday.
Plus, the Jeep that went viral during Hurricane Dorian gets a fitting end after this. Here's what to watch out for today. Residents of Ocracoke Island in North Carolina will be allowed to return home after Hurricane Dorian brought a wall of water that flooded homes and forced some to be rescued from their attics.
President Trump will award the Medal of Valor and other heroic commendations at the White House before heading to Fayetteville, North Carolina to hold a campaign rally.
Meanwhile, Democrats running for president are on the campaign trail as well. Bernie Sanders takes a college tailgate tour in Iowa before heading to a rally in Denver. Julian Castro holds a rally in Houston tonight, and Bill de Blasio is visiting San Juan, Puerto Rico to make an announcement with local labor leaders and activists.
And of course, the big event this Thursday, the third Democratic debate hosted by ABC News. Watch right here on ABC News Live. Coverage starts at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics. Well, we showed you this Jeep last week that got swamped on Myrtle Beach during Hurricane Dorian. Well, someone had a funeral with it, complete with bagpipes.
Yep. A little Amazing Grace there for that Jeep.
Amazing Grace.
Is that Amazing Grace? Yeah. Thanks. What did you think it was, Janae?
You know, I didn't know, but I guess I don't know that I've heard Amazing Grace.
You want me to sing it for you? I can screech just like those bagpipes and sing it for you.
A fitting farewell for that Jeep, and now a fitting farewell from us.
Hey,
goodbye, guys.
For a great day as we say goodbye.
Make it a great week.
And keep your Jeeps out of the ocean. Have a good one.